camera with an X through it. If you there we go.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So thanks for listening to me ramble and bamble about the first part of this show. And please welcome to the show Joyce Robertson of Mountain Air Organic Beds. Joyce, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Jake.
Now let's talk briefly about how you got into this. How did you get into? Obviously, you're in the mattress industry. I was reading up on you a little bit. So let's talk about where this idea and concept came from.
I used to be, a store manager for several different mattress chains from Dallas to Nashville to, Northwest Arkansas is where I'm at. And I was really disheartened when people would come in and spend their hard-earned money on a mattress and they get it home, it doesn't feel good, and they don't know what to do about it. And then, there's some games that some of the mattress stores play on restocking fees where they're making profit off your pain, and that's not right. And the other problem is just the chemical smells. I'd have people come in and, just the smell of those toxic mattresses were making people sick. And so I did some research and I said, there's just got to be a better way. And I looked at polyurethane foam and memory foam, all these different types of mattresses, and found the best mattress is really one that's in a category all to themselves. It's called organic mattresses.
Wow. So, I'm actually one of those people that has the memory foam bed. But let's talk about specifically the difference between organic and some of these toxic mattresses. If we can talk about some of the chemicals that they add to it and why they had to add these chemicals to the beds.
Well, synthetic is a lot cheaper to make than natural fibers.
Sure.
Natural fibers, has gone back all the way in history. And, there's a lot of different things people made beds out of in the old days. And I think the best mattress that has ever been made is one that's made out of all-natural latex rubber.
Okay.
Because rubber is so durable and it sleeps cool and it just lasts a long time and it's healthful and it has a bounce-back property to it, so you don't get that wet sand feeling that you do with other mattresses. But, talking about why they make mattresses the way they have, the Industrial Revolution and World War II changed everything.
Sure. They
started making synthetic mattresses out of things that I wouldn't want to sleep on. Polyurethane foam, use urethane, and it has, a plethora of chemicals in it, such as toluene and diisocyanates. Names I can't even pronounce, so there's no need to. But what we found is the reason that they were doing it is because it is cheaper to make, but also cheaper has a price to pay. And the price you pay is that you're going to have to continue to replace that mattress every 5 to 7 years is because of the way it's made. It's just not built to last a long time because of the synthetics and the density of the foams. And one thing I've learned all these years is that density equals longevity.
Right.
So the denser it is, the longer it lasts. But you did ask a really great question about the chemicals. Why did we get this way? And I'm glad you asked about that because if you go back to, not even World War II, but later on when, people were smoking in bed.
Oh, yes.
There were a lot of fires.
Sure.
And if your mattress was made from urethane, your mattress caught on fire pretty quickly because it's made from petroleum oil.
Sure.
It's like sleeping on liquid gasoline.
Is there anything on this planet that isn't made out of oil? This is the silliness. All right, I'm sorry. I had to get that in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. Well, our mattress is about the only thing.
Well, there you go. All right. If you want to support,
yeah.
or if you want to break away from the oil-ridden society that we all live in, support her with her organic bed. So continue, Joyce. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Oil is a precious resource, because we need it for our automobiles.
Sure.
There's things we need it for, honestly. But I really feel that if you go with something like what we've done is we've made a mattress that's made sustainable. It's made from rubber that's tapped from the Heba bavaris trees, which are grown in the tropics. This rubber itself is sustainable. The trees go on to make more mattresses because we only tap the trees. We don't cut the trees down. And it removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, just billions of tons of that a year. And then the mattress is made with water, a little bit of sulfur, ammonia to keep it from coagulating, a little bit of ash, but not toxic chemicals. These are just natural things that we use. And then, it's poured into a mold, and it's baked like a cake, and it comes out in different densities, in sheets. And then we dry it, measure it for density. That way we know if it's firm, medium, or soft. Oh, cool. Then we put it in your mattress.
Awesome. Now, going back to what you were saying before I so rudely interrupted you, you got on to the point of people smoking in bed and why these chemicals were added. From my understanding, it was added to release some of the pressure from people suing the mattress companies for their mattress catching on fire for smoking in bed. Was that part of it? No, or was I just kind of misguided on that?
I would say that's probably a misguided.
Okay.
I just think that the big old chemical companies are behind all this because they want to sell chemicals.
Sure.
And it was also, believe it or not, the tobacco industry is a very powerful industry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what they did is they wanted to deflect the attention off of them because they were being sued left and right for making, things that cause cancer.
Sure.
And pushing them off on kids and such. And so the government said, you got to make these cigarettes safer. You can't advertise near schools and all this. Well, they decided to just deflect the attention off of them and started, saying, well, what about all these people that burn up in their house fires? Well, the truth is that your bedding's going to catch on fire and you're going to die from the soot and the smell of the soot long before it really gets to the mattress.
Wow. Well, that's very, very true, and I guess I got kind of it conflated. I couldn't remember if it was the big chemical companies or the big tobacco industry, but it seems like, and this isn't really conspiratology, people. It's just using your mind to examine the situation. Who are the big players? And once again, we always ask this: who stands to gain? And obviously, if big tobacco can deflect and say, look at these problems here with the mattress and so on and so forth, then they push the ball down to a different end, and they don't get like you said, the bad stigma of their product is actually a cancer-causing agent. So they push it on to somebody else, and then the chemical companies get to come in with their quote-unquote solution, and that is to put toxic chemicals on these mattresses, sell a bunch of chemicals, and as a byproduct poison us, but they poison us slowly, so they really, I guess they can't really trace it back to the bedding. But that brings me to another point. We do have a caller on hold here that is one of your clients that actually introduced the two of us inadvertently, and thank you for technology and social media. Otherwise, Joyce and I would have never met. And now we have somebody that has a testimonial to how it's changed their life. And how many different testimonials do you have, or what's the satisfaction level from you as an individual? And it seems like you're similar mind frame to myself, in that if you see people getting wronged, you don't just say, oh well, that stinks for them. You try to find a way to make the situation correct, and to sell something that's going to be both beneficial to somebody, but you can also sell it with a good conscience. And I think that that's one of the things that our society needs to bring back, in the fact that we just need to have good business ethics, and that's in essence what it is being ethical about the product that you're selling. So how many different testimonials do you get, or people that come back to you, and what's the satisfaction level for you when they do come back and say that you changed their sleep or changed their life?
Well, our satisfaction level is extremely high because of the durability of our product. And it doesn't have, some problems with the, like off-gassing that you get with regular mattresses. So we don't get those people who have chemical sensitivities. And people get those sensitivities built up over time from their exposure to toxic chemicals, and without realizing it.
Sure.
Just because you can't see it in your mattress doesn't mean it's not there. But our level is very high, and one other reason our level is so high is because our mattresses are layered, and you can change the feel of your mattress yourself.
Oh, no way. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really cool. You can unzip it and move the layers around and make it firmer on each side without having to use air or anything like that, and
Oh.
pumps that make noise in the middle of the night.
Or they can actually deflate. That actually happened to one of my friends that has that sleep number bed or whatever. Her side had a hole in it, and so there you go. So she woke up one morning and basically on the frame. So,
Yeah.
well, if you don't mind, can we pull up the call and talk to Tia about her
Yeah.
situation? All right, great. Let me pull her up.
Awesome. Thanks.
I've only had her on hold for 40 minutes,
Oh,
so
poor thing.
yeah, I know, and I apologize for profusely through Facebook, and that won't do any justice to my putting her on hold. But Tia, you are on the air. Thank you so much for calling in and talking with us.
Thank you for having me, Jake. I appreciate the opportunity to share this information.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Okay,
got
good.
you loud and clear. Let's talk about how you came. Let's talk about first your investigative research and what you've learned, and then how you came in contact with Miss Joyce here.
Okay. Well, basically what happened is right before my wedding day, which was coming up on 9 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
My husband went out. We had an old mattress that was kind of saggy,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought he was going to do something real fantastic, and he went out and bought one of those memory foam beds. I'm not going to mention the name,
Sure.
but they're very frequently advertised in commercials where you see someone jumping up and down on a bed, and they've got the glass of wine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I could kind of picture them, and I'm sure the listeners can as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, very heavily advertised. They like to make a big deal about how satisfied their customers are.
Sure.
So we got this bed, and the first thing we noticed was that it smelled really bad. And
Okay.
of course, the salesperson had told us, told my husband to air it out first, but the smell took a long, long time to go away.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we noticed was that it was comfortable, like maybe the first couple of nights that we slept on it, and then after that, it just wasn't comfortable anymore. And I started to get sick, and I didn't really understand why I was getting sick. It wasn't an immediate thing. I wasn't one of these people that the first night I slept on it, I broke out in hives and couldn't breathe, which some people with very strong chemical sensitivities do.
Huh, that's crazy.
It was a gradual thing. I just started not feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
And right after we got married, I got pregnant. So I was sick all the time, but I attributed it to being pregnant.
Sure.
And, over the years, I just have fatigue and just low energy. And it was always when I was in the house, I had this very low energy and just this feeling of malaise. Mm-hmm. And I started having widespread pain throughout my body. I was having hives and rashes that were unexplainable that I could not get relief from. Mm-hmm. I was having joint pain, and I went to a doctor. If I was having gastrological problems, I went to a doctor. I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disorder. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, anxiety, ADHD, all of these things with no real explanation, and I kept coming back to it's got to be something environmental. It's got to be something environmental.
Sure.
Well, then I had my son, who is 7.5 years old, and he has always slept with us.
Okay.
I mean, I still am trying to break him of sleeping in the bed with us.
Okay.
Well, my son has autism and ADHD, and it's been a challenge to try and help this little kid recover. And, we trying to figure out what's causing. We've done all kinds of blood tests and looked at his, toxins and his toxin levels in his blood. And we've done just about every therapy that's out there that you can think of for autism. We've done it ongoing. Sure. We even have a hyperbaric chamber in our house that we go in all the time. And, I mean, just seemed like there's always something that keeps pushing this little kid backwards.
Sure.
And my illness is just, I would get a little bit of relief, and then the symptoms would come back, and I'd get a little bit of relief, and then the symptoms would come back. And I mean, I'm aggressively trying to attack this illness with everything I can think of,
Sure.
From nutrition to just everything you can imagine.
Sure. I mean, you're a
one
concerned
morning
parent.
I
You're
got
trying
up.
to get up and make your child feel better. That's what any normal parent would do. Is just try exhaust every
Absolutely.
resource.
A couple of months ago, I got up, and I just, for some reason, because I just can't get over this, the fibromyalgia and the fatigue and the skin rashes and all of this stuff. And I got up one morning and I had an epiphany, and I went, "What if it's the bed?" Mm-hmm. And so I sat down and I Googled, could my mattress be making me sick?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, hey,
because it was just like I was desperate, and it was just like this thing, like a bug in the back of my head that said maybe it's the mattress. Because I mean, it's like sleeping in a pressure cooker.
Sure.
It's so hot. You get in the bed, and it's advertised as, it hugs your curves and it relieves your pressure points and da-da-da-da-da. And you get in this bed, and you sink into it, and it is so hot. I wake up sweating. My husband's got like some kind of sleep apnea thing where he can't, he snores and snores and snores, and he goes like he's trying to get his breath. And I mean, we've done sleep studies on him to try and find out why he's, the snoring and why, like I'm worried about him. I'm worried that one of these nights he's just going to not be able to get his breath, and I'm going to wake up and my husband is going to be dead beside me in the bed. I mean, he would say I'm just being fearful, but the truth of the matter is there is something in my house that's making my family sick. Right. So I started researching, and I put in the name. I'm like, memory foam. Could my memory foam mattress be making me sick? And I found Joyce's website.
Wow.
And a couple of other websites where, there's just talking about how these chemicals, and so I called her up because I was like, oh my God, I gotta talk. She can tell you. I mean, I was literally shaking. I was shaking, sitting by my computer, shaking because I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is what is making me sick. I'm so almost positive 100%. So I started talking to Joyce, and then, I'm doing all this research, and what did I find out is that these chemicals that they put in the memory foam, because it's just basically a big bag of gas,
sure,
that they put these things called, and I'm probably going to say it wrong, like polychlorinated bromides and PBDEs.
Yeah, close enough.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, close
enough.
Is
that right? I don't know if
they'll
right.
be able to find it.
These chemicals that they put on the mattresses have actually been linked to neurological problems. And I don't think there's been any real studies done as to whether or not these specific chemicals could be causing autism, but there's definitely a link between these chemicals and neurological problems. And as a matter of fact, they did a study where they exposed mice, juvenile mice, to these PBDEs, and the mice started to exhibit autism-like characteristics.
That's crazy. And so now,
and this is a study out of California. UC Davis, I believe.
Okay.
So, if it causes autism-like symptoms in juvenile mice and rats,
sure, then
what is it doing to us?
Right, exactly.
And I started thinking, this is criminal, because nobody told me that one of the byproducts of sleeping on this extremely expensive bed that's advertised as being one of the best, most satisfying mattresses on the market could possibly be that it could make me very, very sick, and it could make my child very sick. And that it's not just when you're sleeping on it too. This is another thing that I was finding out about these mattresses, is that the polyurethane foam starts to degrade after a period of time, and it starts to leak out of the mattresses, because the mattresses they have like a fabric
like a casing
cover on them. So when these start to break down, it comes out of the mattress. It gets into the house as a dust. And they've actually tested household dust, and these chemicals are in the household dust. It doesn't matter whether it's a memory foam mattress like the one I'm describing, or if it's a synthetic fiber mattress with a lot of memory. A lot of them are putting memory foam on top of their
Sure.
traditional style mattresses, and it's pretty much it's in almost. And these chemicals are in all the mattresses, unless you go organic or sleep in a hammock, or sleep on the floor. You're sleeping on these chemicals.
That's so insane. And nobody
it kind of makes me furious because of a few not so intelligent people sleeping with cigarettes in their catching their mattress on fire. I mean, that's to me that's the law of survival of the fittest.
Sure.
If you're taking yourself out with a cigarette in bed, then maybe that's your problem. But I don't feel like I should have to be poisoned because some people fell asleep with a cigarette in bed.
Well,
because of the people that are smoking, because of big tobacco, because of the chemical industry, I have to be poisoned.
Well, it's the microcosm of society, and the fact that you have events like that. And so what's the solution? The solution is, well, we have to have a knee-jerk reaction to it, so we have to do this to everything, and never mind what it does to us physically. It's kind of like I attribute this same kind of thing to fluoride in the water. I've read 5 different research studies that says that fluoride actually brain damages you at any level that it's put in the water. But we went back in the American Dental Association and said, we need to add this to the water to protect the kids' teeth. And so everybody went with it, but nobody did a toxicology study. Nobody did any other research on it. They just went with it because it seemed like a trendy thing to do. Joyce, you've been nodding your head throughout this entire basically testimonial, and we got about 5 minutes left. Is this pretty standard what you're hearing here from Tia?
Yeah, I do. I hear a lot about things like this. People are coming in all the time with these issues, and I've researched a lot, and Tia's right. There's research out there that's proving that a lot of our illnesses, cancer, neurological illnesses, are caused by our environmental exposures to toxic chemicals. Very little of it is really done through genetics.
Sure. But, I mean, if you just look at us as a nation state compared to other nations around the world, as one of the quote-unquote most developed nation, we have some of the highest cancer rates of any nation in the world, whether it be breast cancer, childhood cancer, so on and so forth. So if what Tia is saying is true, which it sounds like it is very plausible to be true, then maybe these children developing these cancers at early ages are sleeping on these beds that are causing these neurological disorders, and maybe it's a cumulative effect of not having a good environment to live in outside the home, but also in combination with particles and particulates in the home that are causing these issues. And we got about 4 minutes left. So Tia, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to wrap up your testimonial, and then we'll go to Joyce, and then we'll end the show. So once again, thank you both for the time this morning. It's been a fabulous conversation. So Tia, anything that you want to say to the people out there listening that either run into sleep apnea or issues like that you're going through?
I would just say that if you're in the market for a new bed, that you do your research and really ask yourself if it's a risk that you're willing to take, whether it be for 8 years or 20 years,
Sure.
To sleep on something that's treated with these known chemicals of concern. These chemicals are very, the chemicals that we're talking about were banned from children's pajamas in the 70s. And the reason that they are putting them in mattresses, and they put them in all the mattresses. I mean, they even justify putting them in cribs by saying, oh, well, they're going to put a waterproof cover on the crib mattress, so it's okay. But
Right.
These chemicals were banned from pajamas in the 70s, so they've been on the list of what's called chemicals of concern for 40 years now, and yet they're only increasing. In fact, and since 2007, they have increased the the level of chemicals that they're putting into the mattresses. So I would just say, if you're in the market for a mattress, do your research. Do your research. I'd like to say, after you've done your research, buy your bed from Mountain Air Organics. But the truth of the matter is, whether you get it from Joyce or you get it from one of these other excellent manufacturers of organic mattresses, that you seriously consider that as an investment. You're spending a third of your life sleeping in a bed. You might as well make it a good investment and get a bed that's safe.
Well, thank you so much for the time and the testimonial, and as always, I appreciate you contributing, and thanks for introducing me to Joyce, and thank you so much for the time this morning.
Absolutely, thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks, Tia.
All right, Miss Joyce, you got a couple minutes left, and don't listen to the person that's going to say we have 60 seconds. So take all the time you need, and just kind of bring it all to a head. What the philosophy is behind your organization, and why people should look at you, and then where they can find you.
Okay, well, our philosophy is, to make sure that you are educated, so you can make an intelligent, informed decision about your sleep surface. Mm-hmm. There's just so much research out there that has been made, and good cases have been made, and are coming before, California, which kind of started a lot of this stuff. And legislation is finally starting to change in our direction. But, there are ways to make things flame resistant.
90 seconds.
As a natural fire barrier. Mm-hmm. That's one way. The other thing is, everybody has sprinklers in their homes now, so why do we need these toxic chemicals in our mattress? There's just another reason there. It has to be, financial.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One other point I'd like to point out is that Tia was pregnant with her son. When you're pregnant, your baby is most vulnerable as it's developing, its lungs, its brains, and everything. And it's so much more susceptible to the toxic chemicals that you're sleeping with. Mm-hmm. So please keep that in mind. If you have already a immune system that's compromised, and even normal people, just don't expose yourself to that. You have the choice, and you have the power of what you bring into your home. Think about it first. Think about those plastics. Think about those solvents. Think about, polyurethane foam in your furniture, things like that. You just need to take a step back and make an intelligent, informed decision that this is really what you want to do before you do it.
Absolutely. And so where can people find your organization, the best way to get in contact with you, to get either more information or to get pricing and to get themselves a organic bed?
Well, we have a website. It's called Mountain Air Organic Beds. Mm-hmm. And you can call us. My phone number is 479-966-2262. And you can email naturalbeds@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. We're really good about working with people to make sure that you get the right mattress, and we guarantee that your satisfaction. So there's no reason not to call us and not to work with us, because we've found a way to make it a lot easier to buy a mattress and not worry about getting something that doesn't feel good either.
Absolutely. And well, at least I know where I'm going to get my child's first mattress, so that's already been solved. So I've got a 4-month-old, so that was one of the stipulations when I bought the mattress. It was right after I talked to Tia, and I took it out of the cover and everything, and my wife and I went through, and I'm like, look for the chemicals. What chemicals did they put on this thing? And unfortunately, we found that there was no chemicals added, so that made me feel good. But, taking it a step further, why would I want anything that could cause any harm whatsoever, whether it's disclosed or undisclosed? Why not take the safe route? Once again, we spend a third of our life on there, and it's a third of your life that you're pretty much vulnerable. The only thing that you're doing is breathing and turning. You're not actively staying away from this article or anything like that. So I will post the link to this interview on YouTube, everyone, and I'll be able to not only give you a direct link to the Mountain Air Organics website, but I'll also give you Joyce's phone number and email address in the subtitles. So Joyce, thank you so much for the time this morning. A pleasure talking with you, and hopefully we can get you back on for a little bit longer and you can get into a little bit more of why the product would be beneficial for people and just overall health of society. If you can lower carbon emissions,